Thank you so much for inviting me to speak. I'm Kate Sumnall and I'm the curator of this exhibition, The Havering Hoard, A Bronze Age Mystery. Today I'm going to be talking about this late Bronze Age hoard and the process of taking it from discovery in September 2018 to display, which was originally going to be April 2020, but ended up being September. This exhibition is on at the Museum of London Docklands. We hope to reopen as soon as we're allowed. At the moment, it's looking likely to be May. I should also warn you that I will be showing a photo of 2 human skulls in this presentation. I will give another warning just before the slide. Let's start with the discovery of this remarkable hoard. These photos were taken on site by staff at Archaeological Solutions to record the moment of discovery. Archaeological Solutions is the unit contracted to excavate the site ahead of development. As is so often the way, the first axe was revealed on a Friday afternoon, and as the extent of Hoard 1 became clear, the archaeologists worked late into the night to excavate and record the hoard to ensure the safety of the find. This discovery was a late Bronze Age hoard containing 453 objects, separated into 4 parts, each buried separately within the same pit. Analysis indicates this was buried between 900 and 800 BC, towards the end of the Bronze Age. It is the 3rd largest Bronze Age hoard in the country and the largest found in London. In total, it weighs 45 kilograms. Whilst Bronze Age hoards are relatively common, this is a significant discovery because it was found as part of an archaeological excavation. Most hoards are found as a result of metal detecting, and while the hoard in the immediate find spot might be archaeologically excavated, it is a rare opportunity to excavate the wider site here. After the hoard was discovered, Archaeological Solutions altered their approach from sampling to 100% excavation of the site and sieving of context to ensure as much information was retrieved as possible. The site was being excavated ahead of mineral extraction in this area, which means that we can understand the context of the hoard within the site and also within the wider landscape. This is an ongoing programme with adjacent areas scheduled to be developed and the archaeology investigated. These results have the potential to enhance our understanding, but they may also well alter our interpretation. This is the site where the hoard was discovered. You can see a late Bronze Age ditched enclosure with the entrance facing east and a series of post holes and pits inside. The 4 dots within the ditch, just here, mark the location of the hoard pit. The post holes in the centre have been interpreted as a roundhouse. These ones with here. There are 2 4-posted structures, one inside the enclosure and one outside, shown in blue. Here and here. The one inside might be a porch to the roundhouse, or it might be another structure. It is the alignment of these features that is significant. The entrance to the enclosure, the roundhouse, the 2 4-posted structures, and the hoard are all aligned along an east-west axis, mirroring the movement of the sun. It is possible that this site was occupied seasonally, which might tally with the alignment of the sun at certain times of the year. This map shows the location of the site. It was found within the London borough of Havering, close to the border with Essex. Just below the site lie the Rainham Marshes, and to the south the Thames. The Bronze Age Thames followed a slightly different course and was much wider, unconstrained by the modern river wall. Our late Bronze Age enclosure sat on the first piece of dry land next to the marshes, with the river lying just beyond that. The site was also flanked by 2 tributary rivers. This is a very important piece of landscape with access to vital resources, transport routes which offer connection with the wider world, and of course we need to take into account the spiritual significance of water at this time. One of the challenges with displaying the Havering Hoard was the large number of artefacts and the fact that they are visually very similar. This image shows each of the 4 hoards arranged by object type. So axes are in the top left and ingots are in the bottom right. You will also note that in Hoard 4, shown in the bottom right-hand corner of the slide, it's much smaller than the other 3. We're not entirely sure why this is the case. it is possible that it was disturbed at some stage in the past. As you can see, there are some complete objects, but the majority are fragmentary. They are all bronze and copper, so a range of browns and greens. The challenge was how to build a layered, dramatic experience beyond the reveal moment of the scale of the hoard. This is where excellent design came to play. We worked with the designers Skellen and Seeingheens. They were brilliant and embraced the subject matter and the interpretation. I explained early on about the significance of the alignment of the sun and the bearing of the hoard, how it tracks the movement of the sun. Also the synchronicity, where the hoard was discovered and excavated during the most glorious sunset. As you can see on this early sketch, the designers devised an arrangement where the sun moves through the space, with the sunrise on the far wall and the sunset opposite. The entrance to the gallery is at the bottom, is at the centre on the bottom of the sketch. As the visitor moves through the gallery, they start with the moment of discovery, and then you move back through time to the Bronze Age to explore the 4 hoards, to which I attached 4 theories as to why the Havering Hoard was created and buried. To the right, we delve into the stories that the hoard can tell about the people who made and used the tools and weapons within the hoard, the wider connections across Europe, and also the process of bronze casting. The hoard may be made up of really quite visually similar objects, but there are many, many stories that can be explored. This is the sunset on the day of excavating Hoard 1. Alice Short, one of the archaeologists, while lifting and recording the artefacts, just turned around and captured this photo. You can see how flat the landscape is here, the scale of the sky, and the impact the sun had. We have other photos during the excavation that also reveal just how wet and boggy the site gets after a lot of rainfall. We had the ambition to share the hoard as soon as possible, and that gave us the challenge of a very tight timetable, once we had allocated space in the exhibition programme at Docklands. In total, it only took 18 months from the hoard being excavated to the display being ready to open in April 2020. However, those plans to open the exhibition were scuppered due to the pandemic, but it was ready nonetheless. The timescale was incredibly tight due to all the necessary stages of processing and reporting, from the micro-excavation of hoards 2 to 4 in lab conditions by Peter Grooves, and preliminary conservation, report writing by specialist Sophia Adams, and also the full treasure process. This included the coroner's inquest, valuation, and invoicing, all before it could be brought into the museum in October, just 5 months before the exhibition was due to open. These photos show Pieter excavating one of the hoards. After the initial discovery of Hoard 1, the final 3 hoards were each block lifted from the site. This technique allowed Pieter to continue to carefully analyse the surrounding soil, checking for any evidence of an organic container, and also to make detailed records of the order and orientation of the objects within the hoard. Sophie completed the find report by September, but further study was needed of some of the more unusual or fragmentary objects, and we've been facilitating that access so that research and interpretation can continue, which was also invaluable to feed into the text as well. The final picture shows all 453 objects packed within Stuart boxes as the hoard arrived in the museum. Within those final 5 months, we had a lot of exhibition preparation to fit in, condition checking and any necessary conservation work, final object selection for the different cases and narratives, photography, case layouts, and map making. We also held a researcher day where we laid out all 4 of the hoards and invited members of the archaeological world to come in to see the hoard, but also to help us understand it, place it within the wider Bronze Age context, and to test our narratives to ensure that they were as accurate as possible. The post-ex work on the site is still ongoing, and so consultation with Archaeological Solutions was vital, and I'm so grateful for all their help in developing the exhibition and sharing their early interpretations of the site. I wanted to make this exhibition as engaging and atmospheric as possible. This is where I was really inspired by the power of place, the landscape. During those conversations with Andy Peachy and Lindsay Lloyd-Smith at Archaeological Solutions, we discussed the significance of exactly where the hoard was buried on the site and within the landscape, its alignment with the movement of the sun, and also located on the boundary between dry and wetland. This was a dynamic landscape that dramatically changed with the seasons. We worked with Chocolate Films to create a 15-minute film of the sun rising over the Rainham marshes, and we project this across the back wall of the gallery to achieve our aim to bring the landscape and the sun into this space, and also to create drama and atmosphere. As I mentioned before, the Rainham marshes were near to the site where the hoard was discovered. These marshes are a historic survival, and they're similar to how the landscape would have looked in the Bronze Age. Sorry, I just clicked on the wrong slide there. One moment, go back to where we were. There we go, that's right. The film places the hoard within the context of its landscape, something which I think is so relevant to our understanding of the purpose of hoards. So many are deliberately buried at significant places, often associated with water or boundaries. It also speaks to the timeless power of the sunrise, a moment of magic, regeneration, new beginnings, which is just as powerful today as it was in the Bronze Age. Here are 3 of the 4 hoard cases with the backdrop of the film. On each case, we explore a theory as to why the hoard was created, buried, and never retrieved. These include: towards the end of the Bronze Age, was bronze no longer wanted in such large quantities, but needed to be disposed of in the appropriate way? That's one theory. The next, whether the creation of the hoard was about communicating status and controlling large amounts of valuable material. Alternatively, could it have been about a practical store of metal for a metalworker who may have travelled between settlements and needed a network of storage for this heavy material? And the final theory, ritual. Was this a symbolic burial accompanied by ceremonies and gathering together of people within a significant landscape? We don't present a favourite theory, rather it is part of the visitor experience to make up their own mind. The majority of the hoard is displayed in the central section to convey the scale of the find, but also hoard objects have been used to explore what the hoard can tell us about life in the Bronze Age. Within the exhibition, we also show some objects from our collections to help add context to the hoard or to show complete examples where only fragments were included, such as with swords. One interesting fact about the sword fragments, of which there are 38, is that none of them could be fitted back together. So we can see a deliberate selection of objects and even fragments which were included. Looking at the range of artifact types, there were far more tools than weapons, and axes dominated this hoard. In total, there were 153 complete and incomplete axes. This highlights the importance of the axe to Bronze Age society, and in turn, the importance of wood within society and how they manage the natural world. And so this is in the bottom left-hand side of the slide. We've got a Bronze Age axe that's been hafted onto a modern wooden handle, and also this section of Bronze Age timber, which we've included in the exhibition as well. I should warn you that the next slide will show a photograph of 2 human skulls. We also included 2 skulls from the collection, which have sharp and blunt force trauma. I wanted to include these to really emphasise the human element behind these objects, and specifically the weaponry. The late Bronze Age was a violent time with the development of the warrior identity, and that these weapons were not purely for show. They were used and often inflicted severe injuries. Many of the Bronze Age skulls from London, the majority from the Thames, showed evidence of violence. The swords in this photo are also from our core collections and show the 2 different types of swords that are included in the hoard. The top one is a cart's tongue sword, and the middle one is a Ewart Park sword. The bottom one is also Ewart Park, but it's been turned into a dagger. Again, these were found in the Thames. These next 3 artefacts are from the hoard and are rare for this country. The top object is described as an awl, but we're not entirely sure of its function, whether it is leather or woodworking, or possibly some other function. The one below, with the loop, is one of a pair of terret reins. These were used to guide the reins on a cart or chariot. These are the first Bronze Age examples found in this country and reveal connections with the continent, as well as showing the use and status of horses at this time. The final object is part of a bracelet that has parallels with bracelets from Europe, the area around the modern French-German border, again hinting at the connections between our community in Havering with other communities across northwestern Europe. There are very few objects associated with personal adornment within the hoard, such as jewellery. Does this allow us to infer that bracelets, earrings, hairpins are not that common, or does it tell us more about what objects were selected to be included in the hoard? Ingots made up the majority of the weight of the hoard, and there were also fragments of casting waste, including sprues from the top of moulds, droplets of bronze, and miscast objects. So it made sense to also explore within the exhibition the process of bronze casting and recycling. Bronze can be melted and recast almost an infinite number of times. With so many objects broken ready to be reused, does this add weight to the metal workers' store theory? Other research suggests that breaking objects may have been part of the ritual around creating hoards, or broken objects may have had their own spiritual significance. There are many questions and further areas of research that we can explore. Throughout this exhibition, I was very keen that we focused on the people, whether that is in the Bronze Age, the people who owned, used, or made the objects, or the present day and the people who found them, researched, or conserved them. We created a film of James Dilley, a specialist in prehistoric technology, casting bronze axes. The photo in the centre was taken during the filming. This was a brilliant visual way to explore the process, but also to illustrate the magic of transformation that Bronze Age metalworkers accomplished. This exhibition started with the archaeological excavation, and we also wanted to highlight the different processes and roles involved in archaeology. We included a short film of interviews with some of the key people involved, such as Sophia Adams, shown here on the right, who wrote the finds report for the hoard. This final section of the exhibition also demonstrates how the evidence can be interpreted to form the theories around hoard deposition, or to answer questions around how the hoard was used. I'll start from that sentence again. Sorry. This final section in the exhibition also demonstrates how the evidence can be interpreted to form the theories around hoard deposition, or to answer questions around how the enclosure was used or length of occupation. COVID was one of the greatest challenges that we faced. We had everything built in the gallery and even had the objects loaded onto the van and en route to Docklands when senior management called to say that lockdown was looking very likely and that we should turn around and return the objects to the museum. That was the Tuesday just before the first lockdown. Over the next few months, it was decided that the exhibition would still continue, and we worked to make it as COVID secure as possible. We created a one-way route around the gallery, identified and marked areas where only one household bubble could occupy at a time, limited numbers, and ticketed entry. The exhibition remains free to enter, but the tickets allow numbers to be monitored. We increased the cleaning rate and adapted interactives. For example, installed foot pedals instead of buttons, and touchscreens became film. We opened in September, and the feedback, reviews, and evaluation have been overwhelmingly positive. We hope to reopen the museum and this exhibition as soon as we can. I cannot wait to welcome people back. We have decided to extend the run of Havering Hoard Bronze Age Mystery until 21st of August. Please do visit as soon as it's safe to do so. The events programme is still running. Some has shifted to being online content, others have been rescheduled. Everything is listed on the website. I hope to see you at the exhibition or one of the events. Thank you.